The emergency beacon crackled to life in the depths of space, its desperate signal cutting through the cosmic silence like a scream in the dark. Captain Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes and leaned forward in her command chair aboard the UES Resilience, a mid-sized exploration vessel that had been humanity's home among the stars for the past 8 months. "Captain, we're receiving a distress signal," reported Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez from the communications station. His voice carried an edge of excitement mixed with concern. "It's not from any human vessel." Sarah's pulse quickened. First contact protocols had been drilled into every spacefaring human since the early days of interstellar travel, but this was the first time she'd encountered an actual alien distress signal. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of life support systems and the steady beeping of the beacon. "Put it through the universal translator," Sarah ordered, her training taking over. "And get me Dr. Patel. If we're about to meet our first alien species, I want our xenobiologist on the bridge." The translator worked its magic, converting the alien signal into something resembling English. The voice that emerged was high-pitched and trembling with what could only be described as terror. "Please, anyone who can hear this, we are the Kythera research vessel Gentle Current. Our ship is failing. Our people are dying. We crashed on a world, such a terrible world. The gravity crushes us. The air burns our lungs. The very ground beneath us seems to writhe with hostile life. We have lost 17 of our crew already. If anyone receives this message, please, we are not warriors. We are scientists. We need help." The message repeated, each loop more desperate than the last. Sarah felt her heart clench. Whatever these Kythera were, they were clearly in serious trouble. Dr. Amara Patel burst onto the bridge, her dark hair disheveled and her lab coat hastily thrown over her pajamas. "Captain, did I hear correctly? An alien distress signal?" "That's right, Doctor. They're calling themselves the Kythera. They've crashed on what they're describing as a hostile world." Sarah turned to her navigation officer. "Ensign Kim, can you trace the signal's origin?" Ensign Jennifer Kim's fingers flew over her console. "Got it, Captain. The signal is coming from a system about 3 light-years away. According to our stellar cartography, it's got one habitable planet. Classification shows it as a Class M world, but..." She paused, frowning at her readings. "But what?" "Well, it's got some unusual characteristics. High gravity, about 1.8 times Earth normal. Dense atmosphere with elevated oxygen content. And the biodiversity readings are off the charts. It's like a jungle planet on steroids." Dr. Patel's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. That could explain their distress. If they're from a low-gravity world with a thin atmosphere, landing on a planet like that would be like us trying to survive on Jupiter. Sarah made her decision. "Set course for the distress beacon. Maximum warp. And broadcast a response on all frequencies." Lieutenant Rodriguez nodded and began transmitting. "Unknown vessel Gentle Current, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Resilience. We have received your distress signal and are en route to your location. Please hold on. Help is coming." The response came back almost immediately, the translator picking up what sounded like several different voices speaking at once in relief and disbelief. "Humans. You are humans. Oh, blessed stars, you are from the Deathworld. Yes, we know of your species. You are the ones who survive on the impossible planet. Please, we are dying. Our atmospheric processors cannot handle this world's air. Our gravity compensators have failed. We cannot leave our ship without protection, but our ship is failing too." Sarah exchanged a look with Dr. Patel. "Death World? They're talking about Earth?" "It makes sense," Dr. Patel replied thoughtfully. "From their perspective, a world like Earth would seem impossibly hostile. High gravity, dense atmosphere, aggressive weather patterns, and life forms that have evolved to be incredibly resilient and often dangerous. To most theoretical alien species, Earth would indeed seem like a death world. The journey to the Kythera's location took 18 hours at maximum warp. During that time, Sarah's crew worked tirelessly to prepare for what might be humanity's first rescue mission involving an alien species. They studied the limited data about the planet, prepared environmental suits, and organized rescue equipment. Dr. Patel worked with the ship's computer to analyze the Kithera's biological requirements based on their distress communications. They seem to be a fragile species, she reported during a briefing. Low bone density, evolved for low-gravity environments. Their atmospheric requirements suggest they come from a world with much thinner air and lower oxygen content. What we consider a pleasant Earth-like environment would be toxic to them. When they finally dropped out of warp near the planet, the sight that greeted them was breathtaking. The world below was a swirling mass of green and brown, with violent storm systems that dwarfed anything seen on Earth. Lightning constantly flickered through the dense cloud cover, and the planet's rotation generated winds that would be considered hurricane force on Earth. Scanning for the alien vessel, reported Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, the ship's tactical officer. Found it. It's on the surface, in what appears to be a large clearing. The ship looks, well, it looks like it was never meant to land on anything. Sarah studied the tactical display. The Kithera vessel was elegant and delicate, clearly built for deep space travel rather than planetary operations. It had crashed nose-first into the planet's surface, and even from orbit, they could see that significant portions of the ship were damaged. "Captain," Kim called out from her station, "I'm detecting life signs aboard the alien vessel. 23 signatures, down from the original 40 they mentioned in their distress call." Sarah felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. 23 alien lives hung in the balance, and her crew was the only hope they had. "Prepare the shuttle bay," she ordered. "We're going down there." The descent through the planet's atmosphere was rougher than anything Sarah had experienced. The shuttle Endeavour was built for harsh conditions, but the planet's weather systems tested every system to its limits. Lightning struck their hull twice, and the turbulence was so severe that Dr. Patel had to strap herself into her seat to avoid being thrown around the cabin. "This is insane," muttered Chief Petty Officer Tom Bradley, the team's engineering specialist. "No wonder these aliens are in trouble. How does anything survive down here?" As they broke through the cloud cover, the planet's surface came into view, and Sarah understood why the Kithera had described it as a world of horror. The landscape was an endless expanse of dense jungle, with trees that towered hundreds of feet into the air. Vines thick as tree trunks stretched between the massive plants, and the ground was carpeted with vegetation so thick it seemed to pulse with life. "It's like Earth's rainforests, but on steroids," Dr. Patel breathed, her face pressed against the shuttle's window. "The biodiversity here must be incredible." They landed about 100 meters from the Kithera vessel, and Sarah immediately understood why the aliens considered this a death world. The moment they opened the shuttle's airlock, the planet's environment assaulted them. The air was thick and humid, carrying scents that were both floral and somehow predatory. The gravity was crushing, making every step an effort, and the sounds of the jungle were a constant symphony of calls, cries, and rustling that suggested countless unseen lifeforms. "Stay close," Sarah ordered her team. "Bradley, Morrison, you're with me. Dr. Patel, you stay with the shuttle and monitor our vitals. If something goes wrong, get back to the ship." "Not a chance, Captain," Dr. Patel replied firmly. "This is a first contact situation. I'm the xenobiologist. I'm coming with you." Sarah wanted to argue, but she knew Dr. Patel was right. They approached the alien vessel carefully, and as they got closer, Sarah could see that it was even more damaged than it had appeared from orbit. The hull was cracked in multiple places, and what might have been elegant sensor arrays had been sheared off during the crash. "Hello?" Sarah called out, hoping the Kithera could hear them. "This is Captain Chen of the human vessel Resilience. We're here to help." A section of the hull near what appeared to be an airlock suddenly iris opened, revealing a dimly lit interior. The first thing Sarah noticed was the smell, a sweet, almost floral scent that reminded her of jasmine. Then she saw them. The Kithera were unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. They stood about 4 feet tall, with slender, almost delicate builds. Their skin had a pale, almost translucent quality, and their limbs were longer in proportion to their bodies than humans. Most striking were their eyes, large, expressive organs that seemed to take up a significant portion of their faces. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested they were built for a very different environment than the one they found themselves in. The first Kythera to emerge wore what appeared to be a form-fitting environmental suit, but Sarah could see that it was damaged. When it spoke, the universal translator rendered its words in a voice that sounded both melodious and terrified. You are really here. Humans from the death world. We thought we would die on this terrible place. Sarah stepped forward, her hands raised in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. We're here to help. My name is Sarah Chen. I'm the captain of the human ship in orbit above us. How many of you are injured? The Kythera seemed to sag with relief. I am researcher HFY of the Kythera Science Collective. We have lost so many. The gravity, it breaks our bones. The air, it burns our lung analogs. And the creatures? It gestured toward the jungle with what might have been a shudder. They are everywhere. They attack anything that moves. We cannot leave our ship without protection, but our ship is failing. Our life support will not last another day. Dr. Patel stepped forward, her scientific curiosity warring with her compassion. Can you tell us about your medical needs? We want to help, but we need to understand your physiology. HFY's large eyes focused on Dr. Patel with what might have been hope. You are a healer? A scientist? Yes, we can share our biological data. But please, we must act quickly. 3 of our people are in critical condition. The gravity has caused internal injuries that our medical systems cannot address. Sarah made a quick decision. We're going to evacuate you to our ship. It's the only way to get you the help you need. How many of you are there? 23 still live, HFY replied. But 7 cannot be moved without risking their lives. The gravity has damaged their skeletal systems too severely. Then we'll bring our medical equipment here, Sarah said firmly. Dr. Patel, can you work with their medical team to stabilize the critical patients? I can try, Dr. Patel replied, but I'll need to understand their physiology first. This is completely unprecedented. As they spoke, Sarah became aware of sounds from the jungle around them. Rustling in the undergrowth, calls that seemed to be getting closer, and a low rumbling that she felt more than heard. The Kythera noticed it too, their large eyes widening with fear. They come, HFY whispered. The hunters. They are attracted to movement, to the heat signatures of living beings. Our ship's crash must have drawn them from across the continent. Sarah felt her tactical training kick in. Morrison, Bradley, defensive positions. Dr. Patel, get inside their ship and start working on the injured. I'll coordinate the evacuation. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Sarah's team worked with desperate efficiency to stabilize the injured Kythera while simultaneously preparing for what was clearly going to be an extended evacuation operation. The planet's native lifeforms were indeed aggressive, and several times Morrison and Bradley had to drive off creatures that emerged from the jungle to investigate the disturbance. Dr. Patel worked miracles, quickly adapting human medical techniques to alien physiology. Her reports to Sarah were urgent but hopeful. Their bone structure is incredibly delicate, but they heal quickly if we can provide the right environment. I've managed to stabilize 3 of the critical patients, but we need to get them to the ship's medical bay for proper treatment. The real challenge came when they tried to move the injured Kythera. Even with gravity compensation devices, the journey from their ship to the human shuttle was treacherous. The jungle seemed to sense their movement, and the sounds of approaching predators grew louder. Captain, Morrison called out as they made their 3rd trip to the shuttle with injured Kythera, we've got movement in the tree line. Something big. Sarah looked where he was pointing and saw a pair of eyes reflecting the shuttle's lights. They were about 8 feet off the ground and spaced wide enough apart to suggest a creature of considerable size. As she watched, more eyes appeared, surrounding their position. How many more trips do we need? She asked Dr. Patel. At least 4 more for the injured, and then we need to evacuate the rest of the crew, Dr. Patel replied. Captain, I don't think we're going to make it at this rate. The planet's predators are organizing. That's not normal behavior. HFY, who had been helping to carry one of the injured Kythera, spoke up. The creatures of this world are not like the animals of other planets. They are intelligent, coordinated. They hunt in packs that can number in the hundreds. Once they have decided to attack, they will not stop until they have claimed their prey. Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's humid air. How long do we have? Perhaps an hour, HFY replied. Maybe less. They are testing our defenses, learning our patterns. Soon they will attack. Sarah activated her communicator. Rodriguez, this is the captain. I need you to bring the ship down to the surface. We're going to need a direct evacuation. Captain, the ship's not designed for atmospheric flight in conditions like this, Rodriguez replied. The weather systems alone could tear us apart. Then we'll have to risk it, Sarah said grimly. Because if we don't, none of us are getting off this planet alive. The decision to bring the Resilience down to the planet's surface was one of the most dangerous Sarah had ever made. The ship bucked and rolled as it descended through the violent storm systems, and several times she thought they were going to lose hull integrity. But her crew performed flawlessly, and 20 minutes later, the massive exploration vessel touched down in the clearing next to the Kythera ship. The moment the Resilience landed, the jungle erupted into chaos. Creatures of every size and description emerged from the undergrowth, drawn by the ship's heat and movement. Sarah got her first good look at the planet's apex predators, and she understood why the Kythera had been so terrified. They were like nothing Earth had ever produced. Some moved on 6 legs and stood 12 feet tall, with armored hides and claws that could tear through metal. Others were smaller but moved in packs of dozens, their movements coordinated with an intelligence that was unsettling. And above them all, flying creatures with wingspans that defied physics circled the clearing, their cries echoing across the landscape. All hands, defensive positions. Sarah ordered. We're going to hold the perimeter while we evacuate the Kythera. This is not a drill. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. The crew of the Resilience found themselves fighting not just for their lives, but for the survival of an entire alien species. The ship's defensive systems were designed for space combat, not ground operations, but the crew adapted quickly. Morrison coordinated the defense from the ship's tactical station, using the vessel's sensors to track the movement of the planet's predators. Captain, they're not just attacking randomly. They're using strategy. Some of them are creating diversions while others try to flank us. Sarah was on the ground with the evacuation team, helping to carry injured Kythera to the ship's medical bay. The aliens were so light in Earth gravity that she could carry 2 of them at once, but their fragility meant that every movement had to be careful and precise. How many more? She asked Dr. Patel as they completed another trip. 15 still need to be moved, Dr. Patel replied. But Captain, some of them are too injured to survive the movement. We need to set up a temporary medical station here. Sarah looked around the clearing, where her crew was engaged in a desperate battle with creatures that seemed to emerge from nightmares. Dr. Patel, we don't have time for a temporary station. We need to get everyone off this planet now. As if to emphasize her point, a massive creature burst from the jungle directly in front of them. It stood 15 feet tall and moved on 4 legs, each ending in claws that could cut through steel. Its hide was covered in natural armor plates, and its mouth was filled with teeth that looked like they could bite through a shuttlecraft. Chief Bradley stepped between the creature and the group of Kythera, raising his plasma rifle. "Stay back," he shouted, firing a full power blast at the creature's chest. The blast struck the creature dead center, and Sarah expected it to fall. Instead, it stumbled slightly, then roared and charged forward. Bradley dove aside, rolling to avoid the creature's claws, but Sarah realized they were in serious trouble. "The creatures are adapting to our weapons," Morrison reported from the ship. "Their hides are getting thicker, and they're learning to avoid our targeting systems." Sarah's mind raced. They needed a new strategy, something the planet's predators couldn't adapt to. Then she remembered something from her training: sometimes the best defense is an overwhelming offense. "All hands, listen up," she announced over the ship's communication system. "We're changing tactics. Instead of trying to hold a defensive perimeter, we're going to clear the entire area. I want every weapon system on this ship focused on the jungle around us. Burn it down. Captain Morrison protested, that could cause an ecological disaster. Morrison, if we don't clear this area, the Kithara are going to die, and so are we. Do it. The Resilience had been built for exploration, not warfare, but like all human vessels, it carried significant defensive capabilities. The ship's energy weapons were designed to defend against hostile spacecraft, but they worked just as well against hostile wildlife. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from the ship's weapon arrays, striking the jungle around the clearing. Trees that had stood for centuries vaporized in seconds. The massive flying creatures that had been circling overhead were caught in the crossfire and fell burning to the ground. The coordinated attacks from the jungle predators suddenly became confused and disorganized as their cover was systematically destroyed. It's working! Bradley shouted from his position near the Kithara ship. They're retreating. But Sarah knew the respite was temporary. The planet's predators were intelligent and adaptable. They would find another way to attack, and the humans' energy weapons wouldn't hold them off forever. How much longer for the evacuation? She asked Dr. Patel. 10 minutes for the mobile patients, Dr. Patel replied. But Captain, we have a problem. 3 of the Kithara are too injured to move. Their bone structure has been so damaged by the gravity that any movement could kill them. Sarah felt her heart sink. They had come so far, saved so many lives, and now they were going to lose 3 of them because of logistics. What do they need? She asked. A zero-gravity environment, Dr. Patel replied. Or at least microgravity. Their bones need to heal in an environment where they're not being constantly compressed. Sarah had an idea. What if we could create a localized gravity field? Something that would counteract the planet's gravity just around the injured Kithara? Dr. Patel's eyes lit up. That might work. But we'd need to modify the ship's gravity generators, and we'd need to do it quickly. Bradley, Sarah called out, get to engineering. I need you to modify the gravity generators for localized field projection. Can you do it? I can try, Captain, Bradley replied, but I'll need about 30 minutes. You have 10, Sarah said grimly. Because that's all the time we have before those creatures figure out how to get past our defenses. The next 10 minutes were the longest of Sarah's life. Her crew worked with desperate efficiency to complete the evacuation while Bradley performed what could only be described as an engineering miracle. He managed to modify the ship's gravity generators to create a localized field that would reduce the effective gravity around the injured Kithara to nearly zero. It's working, Dr. Patel announced. The localized field is stable. We can move the injured Kithara now. The evacuation of the 3 critical patients was delicate work. Even with the reduced gravity, their injuries were severe, and every movement had to be carefully coordinated. Sarah found herself holding her breath as Dr. Patel and her medical team slowly and carefully transported the injured aliens to the ship's medical bay. That's everyone, Dr. Patel finally announced. All 23 Kithara are aboard the Resilience. Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was short-lived. The planet's predators had regrouped, and they were coming back with a vengeance. This time, they had learned from the humans' tactics. Captain Morrison reported from the tactical station, we've got movement underground. The creatures are tunneling toward us. Sarah realized they were out of time. All hands, prepare for immediate departure. We're getting off this planet now. The Resilience lifted off from the planet's surface just as the first of the tunneling creatures broke through the ground where they had been standing. Sarah watched from the bridge as the clearing they had fought so hard to defend was overrun with predators of every description. Plot a course for the nearest Federation medical facility, she ordered. Best possible speed. As the planet fell away below them, Sarah felt the weight of what they had accomplished. They had saved 23 lives, made first contact with an alien species, and proved that humans could be more than just survivors, they could be saviors. But the mission was far from over. The Kithara were safe for now, but they needed specialized medical care that the Resilience couldn't provide. And there were larger implications to consider. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were willing to risk everything to help complete strangers, even aliens. That was going to change how the galaxy viewed the species from the Deathworld. The medical bay of the Resilience had been transformed into something that looked more like a xenobiology research station than a traditional sickbay. Dr. Patel had worked tirelessly to adapt human medical equipment to treat the Kythera, and the results were remarkable. The injured aliens were recovering faster than anyone had expected, thanks to the combination of human medical technology and their own natural healing abilities. Sarah walked through the medical bay, observing the recovering Kythera with a mixture of scientific curiosity and genuine concern. The aliens were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, but there was something about their gentle nature that made them instantly likable. "Captain," Dr. Patel called out from one of the treatment stations, "I think you need to see this." Sarah approached the station where Dr. Patel was examining one of the Kythera who had been injured in the crash. The alien's name was Veltar, and according to HFY, he was one of their most skilled engineers. "What am I looking at?" Sarah asked. "Veltar's bone structure," Dr. Patel replied, pointing to a medical scanner display. "When we first brought him aboard, his leg bones were severely fractured from the planet's gravity. But look at this." Sarah studied the display, though she had to admit that alien bone structure was beyond her expertise. "It looks better?" "It is better," Dr. Patel said with excitement. "His bones are healing at an incredible rate. What should have taken months to heal is happening in days. And it's not just healing, his bones are actually getting stronger." Veltar, who had been listening to their conversation, spoke up. "Dr. Patel, our people have always been quick to heal. But this is different. I feel stronger than I have ever felt before." Sarah looked at Dr. Patel with concern. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" "I think it's a very good thing," Dr. Patel replied. "The Kythera's bodies are adapting to the treatment we're giving them. They're becoming more resilient, more capable of surviving in environments that would have killed them before." Over the next several days, as the Resilience made its way to the nearest Federation medical facility, Sarah had many opportunities to interact with the Kythera. She found them to be a fascinating species, highly intelligent, deeply curious about the universe, and possessed of a natural kindness that was both refreshing and humbling. HFY, who had emerged as the unofficial leader of the Kythera survivors, spent hours with Sarah discussing their respective species and the implications of their first contact. "Your people are remarkable," HFY said during one of their conversations. "We have studied many species throughout the galaxy, but humans are unique. Most species avoid the dangerous worlds, the places where survival is difficult. But humans make their homes in such places and thrive." "Earth isn't that dangerous," Sarah replied with a smile. "We're just adapted to it. Captain Sarah, your planet has weather systems that can destroy cities, tectonic activity that can reshape continents, and life forms that have evolved to be predators. Most species would consider such a world uninhabitable. But humans call it home, and more than that, you've learned to travel to other worlds and survive there as well." Sarah found herself thinking about HFY's words. She had never really considered Earth to be particularly dangerous, it was just home. But from the perspective of a species that had evolved on a low-gravity world with a thin atmosphere and gentle weather patterns, Earth would indeed seem like a death world. "What about your world?" Sarah asked. "What is it like?" HFY's large eyes took on a distant look. "Our world is beautiful, Captain. The gravity is gentle, allowing our people to build cities that reach toward the stars. Our atmosphere is clear and clean, and our weather systems are predictable and mild. We have never known the kinds of challenges that shape a species like yours." "That doesn't sound like a bad thing," Sarah said. "It is not bad," HFY agreed. "But it has made us soft. When we encountered the hostile environment of the world where we crashed, we were helpless. We had no experience with such conditions, no evolutionary adaptations that would help us survive. We would have died if your people had not come to our rescue." Sarah was quiet for a moment, thinking about the implications of what HFY was saying. "How many other species are there like yours? Species that have evolved in safe environments?" Most of them, HFY replied. The galaxy is full of species that have developed on worlds with gentle conditions. Dangerous worlds like yours are rare, and species that evolve on them are even rarer. That is why your people are so remarkable, Captain. You are the products of a world that demanded strength, adaptability, and courage just to survive. As the Resilience continued its journey, Sarah found herself developing a deep respect for the Kythera. Despite their physical fragility, they were incredibly intelligent and possessed a depth of knowledge about the galaxy that was staggering. They had been exploring space for thousands of years, cataloging star systems, studying alien life forms, and accumulating scientific knowledge on a scale that dwarfed anything humanity had achieved. We are researchers, HFY explained during one of their conversations. Our entire civilization is built around the pursuit of knowledge. We study the universe because we love to learn, not because we need to survive. That is what makes your people so different from ours. What do you mean? Sarah asked. Your people explore because you must. You push the boundaries of what is possible because your world taught you that standing still means death. We explore because we can, because we have the luxury of curiosity. But when faced with real danger, real challenges, we are helpless. You are not. Sarah was beginning to understand the larger implications of their rescue mission. Humanity had just demonstrated something that no other species in the galaxy had ever done. They had risked their lives to save complete strangers, not because they had to, but because it was the right thing to do. HFY, Sarah said carefully, how many other species are there in the galaxy? How many civilizations? Hundreds, HFY replied. The galaxy is old, Captain Sarah, and many species have achieved spaceflight. Most of them know of each other, trade with each other, share knowledge. But there are unwritten rules about interaction between species. What kind of rules? Each species tends to stay within its own sphere of influence. We trade, we share information, but we do not interfere with each other's internal affairs. We do not risk our lives for strangers, especially not for species we have never met before. Sarah felt a chill. Are you saying that if another species had received your distress signal, they wouldn't have helped? They might have helped, HFY said carefully, but not the way your people helped. They would have calculated the risks, the costs, the benefits. They would have sent a rescue mission only if it was safe and profitable. They would not have risked their lives for us. But you were dying, Sarah protested. You needed help. Yes, HFY agreed. And your people came to our aid without hesitation, without calculation, without concern for profit or safety. That is not normal behavior in the galaxy, Captain Sarah. That is the behavior of a species that the galaxy has never seen before. As the Resilience approached the Federation medical facility, Sarah found herself thinking about the future. The rescue of the Kythera had been successful, but it was just the beginning. Word of humanity's actions was going to spread throughout the galaxy, and that was going to change everything. Captain, Dr. Patel called out from the medical bay, I think you need to see this. Sarah made her way to the medical bay, where she found Dr. Patel examining the latest scans of the recovering Kythera. The aliens were not just healing, they were thriving. Look at this, Dr. Patel said, pointing to a series of comparative scans. The Kythera's bone density has increased by 30% since we brought them aboard. Their muscle mass has improved, and their cardiovascular systems are functioning at levels that would have been impossible for them before. Sarah studied the scans with growing amazement. They're getting stronger? Much stronger, Dr. Patel confirmed. I think it's a combination of factors, the treatment we've given them, the slightly higher gravity aboard our ship compared to their own vessel, and their own natural adaptability. They're becoming more resilient, more capable of surviving in challenging environments. Veltar, who had been listening to their conversation, spoke up. Dr. Patel, I feel like a new person. Before the crash, I could barely lift my own weight. Now I feel like I could move mountains. That's because you can, Dr. Patel said with a smile. Your people are more adaptable than you realized. You just needed the right stimulus to unlock that potential. Sarah realized they were witnessing something historic. The Kythera weren't just being rescued, they were being transformed. Their contact with humanity was making them stronger, more capable, more resilient. And if that was happening to the Kithera, it might happen to other species as well. The Federation Medical Facility at Kepler Station was a marvel of engineering and medical science. Built to serve the needs of multiple species, it was equipped with the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy and staffed by the finest medical professionals from dozens of different civilizations. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's chief medical officer, greeted the Resilience with a mixture of professional interest and barely concealed amazement. The arrival of the human ship with its cargo of rescued Kithera had sent shockwaves through the galactic medical community. Captain Chen, Dr. Vasquez said as she welcomed Sarah to the station, "What you've accomplished is remarkable. The Kithera are one of the most fragile species in the galaxy, and you've not only rescued them from a Class 5 death world, but you've somehow made them stronger in the process." Sarah felt a surge of pride, but she also felt the weight of responsibility. "Doctor, we just did what anyone would have done. We couldn't leave them to die." Dr. Vasquez's expression grew serious. "Captain, I need you to understand something. What you've done is not normal. In the 300 years that this station has been operating, we've seen thousands of rescue missions. But they were always carefully planned operations with minimal risk to the rescuers. No one has ever attempted what you did, a full-scale rescue operation on a Class 5 death world against overwhelming odds." As the Kithera were transferred to the station's medical facilities, Sarah found herself in the unique position of being humanity's first official ambassador to the galactic community. It was a role she had never trained for, but one that she was apparently well suited for. "Captain," HFY said as they walked through the station's corridors, "I want you to meet someone. Her name is Ambassador Krell Nye, and she represents the Galactic Council." Sarah's pulse quickened. The Galactic Council was the closest thing to a galactic government that existed, a loose confederation of species that coordinated trade, scientific research, and mutual defense. Meeting with one of their representatives was a significant step. Ambassador Krell Nye was a member of the Zentari species, tall and elegant with pale blue skin and graceful movements. Her large, multifaceted eyes gave her an almost insectoid appearance, but her manner was warm and welcoming. "Captain Chen," Ambassador Krell Nye said in perfect English, "your actions have created quite a stir throughout the galaxy. The rescue of the Kithera research team has been broadcast on every major communication network from the core worlds to the outer rim." Sarah felt a mix of pride and apprehension. "Ambassador, we simply responded to a distress signal. Any civilized species would have done the same." Ambassador Krell Nye's expression grew thoughtful. "That is where you are mistaken, Captain. The Kithera's distress signal was received by 17 different vessels before yours. None of them responded." The weight of that statement hit Sarah like a physical blow. "None of them? But why?" "Because the risk was too great," Ambassador Krell Nye explained. "The world where the Kithera crashed is classified as a Class 5 death world, one of the most dangerous planetary environments in the galaxy. Most species would consider it suicide to attempt a rescue there." HFY spoke up, his voice filled with emotion. "Captain Sarah, what the ambassador is trying to tell you is that your people are unique. You are the first species we have encountered that will risk everything to help strangers." Sarah looked around the medical facility, where human doctors were working alongside alien medical staff to treat the recovered Kithera. She was beginning to understand the larger implications of their actions. "Ambassador," Sarah said carefully, "what does this mean for humanity's relationship with the galactic community?" Ambassador Krell Nye smiled, an expression that looked strange on her alien features but was somehow unmistakably warm. "Captain Chen, it means that humanity has just announced itself to the galaxy as something entirely new. You are not just another species seeking trade agreements or scientific cooperation. You are potential protectors, guardians, saviors." "But we're just one ship," Sarah protested. "One crew. We can't protect the entire galaxy." "No," Ambassador Krell Nye agreed, "but you have shown that it is possible. You have demonstrated that a species can be both strong enough to survive on a death world and compassionate enough to risk everything for strangers. That combination is unprecedented in galactic history." Dr. Patel, who had been listening to the conversation, stepped forward. Ambassador, what are the implications of this? Are you saying that other species are going to start looking to humanity for protection? I am saying that the galaxy is about to change, Ambassador Krelnai replied. For thousands of years, the various species have coexisted in relative peace, but that peace was based on mutual non-interference. Each species stayed within its own sphere of influence and avoided conflict by avoiding contact. But now, there is a species that will actively intervene to help others, regardless of the risk. Ambassador Krelnai's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with something that might have been hope. Captain Chen, I am not asking anything of you. But I am here to inform you that the Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision. Humanity is being offered full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Sarah's breath caught. Full membership in the Galactic Council meant that humanity would have a voice in galactic affairs, access to advanced technologies, and opportunities for trade and cooperation that could transform human civilization. What are the responsibilities? Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. The same responsibilities you have already chosen to accept, Ambassador Krelnai replied. To respond to those in need, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to be the guardians that the galaxy has never had before. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent chime from the station's communication system. Dr. Vasquez's voice echoed through the corridors, all senior staff to the main communications center. We have received multiple distress signals from across the galaxy. Sarah, Ambassador Krelnai, and HFY made their way to the communications center, where they found a scene of controlled chaos. The main display showed a star map of the galaxy, with dozens of red indicators marking distress signals from various locations. What's happening? Sarah asked. Dr. Vasquez looked grim. Word of the Kythera rescue has spread throughout the galaxy. Now, it seems like every species with a problem thinks that humanity will come to their aid. Sarah studied the display with growing concern. There were distress signals from mining colonies trapped by geological activity, research stations threatened by hostile wildlife, and exploration vessels stranded in dangerous regions of space. How many signals are we receiving? She asked. 47 and counting, Dr. Vasquez replied. Captain, these aren't all legitimate emergencies. Some of these species are simply taking advantage of humanity's reputation for selfless heroism. Ambassador Krelnai stepped forward. Captain Chen, this is what I meant about the galaxy changing. Your actions have created expectations that no single species can fulfill. Sarah felt the weight of those expectations pressing down on her. The rescue of the Kythera had been successful, but it had also created a problem that was potentially overwhelming.